Well, welcome everyone to the People Strategy Forum podcast. We're a show that guides leaders to elevate the workforce. So we believe here at Comp Team and the People Strategy Forum that people are at the heart of successful organizations. Team members' well-being, rewards, career development, it's all essential to a happy and healthy and highly productive workforce. So this show discusses the practical and effective leadership strategies for executives, senior professionals, and talent managers overall. So first of all, I would like to introduce our host that we have here today. So we have Shar Miller. She's a dedicated people strategist with a deep expertise here in the United States and an entrepreneurial spirit at heart. So Shar does a lot of great work in building businesses and coaching others. So welcome, Shar. And we also have Smit Singla. Smit has a global reach. He's broadcasting out of India. He's known as the culture guy. He's a person that's deeply interested in ensuring that we develop workplaces that are effective for companies and are people-centric globally. And then that brings us to our special guest today. Today, we're going to be exploring the art of being a well-balanced leader. Guiding us through this journey is Rich Bruno, a beacon of leadership and excellence. With a distinguished career as a previous senior leader at Johnson & Johnson, combined with a decade of entrepreneurship and coaching executive leaders, Rich embodies the very essence of what it takes to be a transformative leader overall, and doing it with style. So his expertise in fostering talent, operational excellence, and respect-based culture has made him a sought-after coach and consultant. So join us as Rich shares invaluable insights on achieving excellence and balance in leadership, ensuring that you leave today with a session that's going to empower you to the next step of what it means to be a leader in your business. So welcome, Rich.
Thank you, Sam, Char, and Sumit. It's great to be with you. I'm really looking forward to this conversation to talk about how we can be most effective in our lifestyles, whether it's professionally or personally.
Yes, being a well-balanced leader. And so I know that Rich, in your experience, can you just start off just telling us a little bit about your journey of how you came to be where you're at today and helping the people that you help?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a retired 30-year supply chain leader, most recently from Johnson & Johnson. I've always been focused on talent management and development throughout all the operations disciplines I've been in. And at my core, I'm really very relationship centered, and I truly want to have an impact on other people's lives, whether it's in a professional space or personally. So almost 5 years ago, this May will be 5 years, I retired from Johnson & Johnson. But concurrent with that, I was running a small business in the health and fitness space as a franchisee of the Max Challenge. And at one point, I had up to three territories or locations. I did this concurrent with my Johnson & Johnson career, while also raising three small children with my wife. So quite the task. I was a very active owner operator in this business, and I was approaching 55, and I started to realize the grind was really tough. And I started to really appreciate the importance of quality of life. So I took a bold move and retired right after I turned 55. And it was one of the most liberating feelings I've had. And I will tell you that I have absolutely no regrets. I miss the people. I worked for a great organization. I had a great career that I did not need to leave. And in fact, many people probably thought I was a little crazy doing it. But I'm a bet on myself kind of guy. And, my twins were 14. My daughter was 11 at the time. And I just wanted to grab, seize the moment really more and just recognize that I wanted to be more intentional about my life. That's the bottom line. So I retired from J&J. I move into managing my small business, really with a laser focus on developing and growing that business and having a lot more fiscal discipline around running that business. So let's face it, that was going to be my sole source of income, leaving a very, very lucrative position at Johnson & Johnson. So I shifted gears to working solely on the business. And about 3 months later, I realized there was something more I wanted to do. Back to this intentionally wanting to help others live the best lives they can, whether it's personally or professionally. So I decided to get certified as a John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. And I started coaching individuals, very broad brush, small business owners, some executives, working with organizations. And I've been doing that really for the last 4.5 years, in executive coaching and business consulting. And I'll tell you that I love it. I just am so into, helping people kind of uncover some of their challenges, helping them to find solutions, and just basically helping them to grow their organizations and be better versions, of themselves.
And so looking into that, now what are the common themes that you found with leaders in coaching them? Are there some common trends that you see with the people you work with?
Yes, it depends. Let's talk about larger organizations first, and I'm going to use a lot of my reference to my career at Johnson and Johnson and prior to that. This well-balanced leader concept, which we'll get into in a little bit, really is based on the fact that so many senior leaders, because of the demands of their organizations and drive for results, are so locked into their careers that other things get missed, right? So the concept of a well-balanced leader is that they can have totally fulfilled lives so long as they make choices and they respect the need for their own personal care, right? Self-care, relationships, hobbies, whatever it is, but just not being one-dimensional as an awesome, leader driving extraordinary results and leading great teams. You could still do that, but have these other elements to your life. So what I noticed mostly with senior leaders is that they struggle with that. Very demanding roles. They don't make those choices for many reasons, but they're missing out on so much. And I have to tell you that when I retired, that's kind of when it popped for me. When I got to see in my own lifestyle that I made that transition and that I started to really own my calendar and enjoy more of my time. And again, living a very intentional lifestyle. And that's what I'm trying to, really influence senior leaders into doing more of. So that's kind of the observation from senior leaders. From an organizational standpoint, I do an organizational needs assessment, and really the pain points, if you want to call it that, vary, right? A lot of times it's developing talent, right? Career management, talent management. It's prioritization and time management, right? It's structured goal setting. There are so many dimensions to like building organizations. And I see maybe 4 or 5 things. Hiring and staffing is typically a very, very challenging area for most organizations. So those are 4 or 5 things I see in organizations. From a business owner standpoint, what I notice most is that their real need is they are not able to scale their business. They just don't have the wherewithal, whether it's lack the ability to delegate, bring the right people on board, putting the right people in the right spots to help them to be successful. Sometimes they lack the business acumen, right? The financial acumen to really understand how to build the organization or their business to even greater levels. So the typical ask of business owners is help me to scale my business. Not sure what I should be spending my time on. What's the portfolio of products and services that I should ideally offer my customers, members, what have you. And I work with them along those paths. And like I said, extremely, extremely fulfilling.
What are your thoughts, Sumit? I mean, is what Rich saying, does it resonate with you as far as what you see leaders struggle with and in other locations around the globe?
It does, because I think the temptation to squeeze in every possible thing into those 24 hours is great. But at the same time, it's good to see things like, so I was reading this book called Slow Productivity a few days ago by Cal Newport. I think so he's coined the term. I think he makes perfect sense where he says, work at a natural pace, pick fewer things to do, and you'll find your productivity increases instead of reducing. And I think that's also probably where advice and expertise from somebody like Rich would come in handy, where one just needs to hear it from a person who's kind of been through the journey and who's not just preaching at you, who's kind of bringing that expertise and having been through that journey. And I find this is a bigger problem in India because we've been a growing economy. So unless you're getting a double-digit merit increase every year, unless you're getting promoted every 2 or 3 years, clearly you've got something wrong with you. So it's very easy to um, get onto the treadmill and keep exchanging it for a newer model, a faster one, every few years. And before you know it, you've kind of burnt out.
Yeah, so it's crazy that how that model of getting on that treadmill for executives and professionals can be almost self-destructive in a lot of ways. So, Rich, in your experience, I mean, you left from that leadership position at Johnson and Johnson, and then it seems like you kind of left from the fire to the fire into the frying pan of starting your own business. Wasn't that a huge learning curve, and didn't that bring a lot of stress onto your life during that, or how was that transition?
Yeah, that was quite the journey, and have no regrets. I will tell you, first of all, I started this program called the Max Challenge as a member. I had no visions of owning a business. I was a corporate career person, operations, centered, uh, and I really didn't see this as a kind of a plan B or anything like that. I took this program with my wife, and I'm like, wow, this is a great program. Uh, Made a difference in my life, made me healthier, happier, my wife as well. But the biggest thing I took away was there are so many people that need this. That was kind of like the outcome for me as far as that experience. And immediately it was literally passion fueled. It was something I needed to go do. I needed to help other people to experience this, to improve their lives, to be more confident, to be happier and healthier. It's just an investment in yourself. Let's face it, right? So, with me, I was, I don't know at the time, probably in my 40s, right? So my children were young, but we started having children late. So I'm like, I want to be around for a long time. Like, it's an investment. You've got to put something into it, and then you can't control everything, but that's something you can control. So how about helping so many other people to experience this? So I immediately jumped into, I want to be a franchisee, and that started. Um, and I have to tell you, I never ran a small business before. I had no idea what I was doing. What I did was on literally blind faith and passion, as well as the skills that I developed as a corporate leader. I used those things to drive building the business. And you know what? Here are the main things. Um, Follow the money. You've got to know that you can have a sustainable business, or else it's game over, right? But at its core, what I did at first was made sure that it was so customer focused, so our members and the experience they had, driving the results, encouraging them, creating the right environment. All of those things are really the foundation of this program, and really differentiates itself from many other kind of boutique fitness programs. So my first role was to be an active owner operator. I did everything. I taught classes, I took classes, I enrolled people, I did sales on the phone. I mean, I did everything that needed to be done, but most importantly, engaged our members and built a great staff. And I think that's something we didn't talk about. So I think there are crossovers between organizations and businesses for sure. And I would say culture is king or queen, without a doubt. Sumit, you mentioned something about the workplace environment. I didn't mention that, Sam, before about the top things for organizations, but that is absolutely one of them. Building the right culture where people want to come and contribute, right? So culture was key. Following the money, obviously, people, they're your greatest asset, right? So bringing in people to stand up the program, to be instructors, to greet people, whatever their role was, it had to be with the same value system that I had, right? So standing up a business was not easy, concurrent with running, a great career that I had and raising a family. But I'm a grinder. If it's important enough to me, I'm going to do it. And so I put a tremendous amount of effort and energy into this for 7 years, concurrent with my career. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy. My day-to-day grind was ridiculous. It was 3:30 wake ups, go to bed at 11:30 at night, work on the business on weekends, keep up with my corporate career. It was very challenging, but worth it. 100% worth it. And not even because I had a vision of, well, I'll retire early and that's what I do. Never even thought that. It wasn't until I was about 54 and a half that I'm like, this is really a tough grind. This is hard. And I did my due diligence. It wasn't a willy-nilly, I think I'll just stop working now. I checked the financial box. I reached out to really important people in my life to say, hey, does this make sense? Can I do it? Checked in with my wife. I'm like, I really want to do this 100%, like didn't even bat an eye. Let's do it. 100% supportive. And the rest is history. I mean, I'm living my best life. I am absolutely, without a doubt, living my best life right now.
Well, I know that's a fan for what Shar's motto is, living your best life. Would you agree, Shar?
Yes, it's an adventure.
Yes.
May I make a couple comments and I have a follow-up question for you, Rich, because you and I have a lot in alignment together, it sounds like, I've been even between a couple of my corporate positions, I dabbled into the entrepreneur space and I started getting into franchising myself, where I was like doing marketing for franchising. And one, I found out I'm not a salesperson. Or not, but I am a salesperson. I just do it in the Char way, you know what I'm saying? And what I found is that I really had, because I was more in a strategic HR role. I had a whole IT team. I had a whole, an HR admin assistant. I had all my resources in my corporate position. So I was kind of well taken care of so that I could
Mm.
really focus on strategic work with my business leaders. And so when I jumped into more entrepreneurship, particularly in franchising, in that particular frame, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to set up an email. I got to figure out how to funnel my marketing system. I got to, I think at the time, I don't even know what social media was, but, I got to try to call my cold call list and send out emails to all my hundreds of people. And I really, really struggled with that. I mean, it was like, this is out of my bailiwick. This was not necessarily what I thought, because in my mind, I thought, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and a CEO and a founder, and I'm going to really rock this because I'm an executive HR lady. No, I had a lot of struggles. So, I can relate with that. So I realized I really needed some kind of like, I put together my own business, one-page business plan. And I
Mm.
decided I'd treat my consulting and franchise selling and later HR consulting as a business. Like I put together a business strategy, I put together a business plan with goals, objectives, etc. And I found that helpful to me because if I treat my own consulting like a business, like a true business, because I sat at many boardroom tables, I should understand how to do this. I found it help me. So, Rich, I mean, when you talk about the tools that really help someone like you that's transitioning from more of a traditional corporate role to more of an entrepreneurial consulting role, what kind of tools do you recommend that perhaps that professional or executive making that transition look to help them succeed in that
Yeah.
transition?
So that's a great question. First thing I want to focus on is the mindset, because I think that's really key, right? So I never had a doubt that I could.
Right.
I say that just I have a positive mindset, not bragging away any. I have an engineering background. I'm a problem solver. Okay, so like I don't
Great skill
face
set.
something. Yeah, I don't face something with this daunting. There's no way I could solve for this. I will find a solution, and I do believe that wholeheartedly. So for me, a couple of really important tools, I'll call them, is your mindset, of course. You got to believe in yourself. You should be passionate about what you're doing. That's just a principle I have. Like if I don't get out of bed in the morning, my feet hit the ground, I'm jacked up about what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do something else. I think that everyone should have that enjoyment in life. And so
Yeah.
it's corporate or personal. So that's a principle, right? So have the right principles, right? Belief system, the passion for what you're doing. Know who to ask the right questions to get the solutions that you can't solve for, right? Business owners, they don't have the financial acumen. Okay, do you have a good bookkeeper, accountant, someone that's going to give you the right guidance? That might not be your expertise. You have to pool the resources you need in order to drive the results. You shouldn't have to be an expert in everything. Great leaders are not that, right? They just know how to surround themselves with the right people to get the results they want, right?
Right.
So the tool set really starts with, um, you know, look, you're going to be building from the ground up. Recognize that a lot is going to be unknown. Approach it with a problem solver's mentality. I can overcome, adversity is present all the time. We had COVID. The gyms were shut down for 6 months. It could have been game over, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
We found a solution. We pivoted, right? So, being a good decision maker and a quick decision maker, that's a really great skill set. Don't ponder things till it's perfect, until you have every I dotted and T crossed. Just have enough and go with your gut and move on. You make a mistake, you'll course correct. So don't get stuck is what I would say about that. And then, in terms of the business that you're developing, you need to understand the business, the model you want to go forth with, as you said, Char, hey, strategy is really important, right? Be invested in your customers. Without them, you don't have a business. Always surround yourself with the right people as far as a staffing standpoint, and get involved in your community if it's a small business.
Yeah.
Those would be the things I'd say absolutely essential, that will help drive business success. Now, it's not just that. You have to continue to nurture and build it, right?
Well, I resonate with that because, strategy is, in my definition, um, strategic allocation of resources and building your own unique system in order to achieve your goals and results, in my view. And I have to say, even though I was a leader of a team of employees, one of my opportunities in my competency area was around my delegation skills. Because I was one to want to solve world hunger and do it all, and the executive boardroom needs that PowerPoint by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I'm staying up all night doing an all-nighter trying to create a PowerPoint instead of having my employee do my PowerPoint. So even when I became an entrepreneur, I just an awareness that I need to build on the competency of not of delegating and identifying those resources, allocate those resources to the right avenues. And also as an entrepreneur, there's a cost aspect to that too. I mean, if I hire some IT support, or if I buy a platform to help me organize my contact list or emails, I mean, you have to invest too. I mean, a financial aspect. So you invest not only in your well-being, but also just invest in your business and trying to build that up. And sometimes I mean, quite frankly, I'm proud of you, by the way, Rich. I'm going to say one thing. I am very proud of you. It sounds to me that you were still working in some form of a corporate position and trying to build your enterprise, right? You're right. And when
7 years.
I do career coaching, I say, please don't quit your job quite yet. You might be disgusted with your boss and things are frustrating. Hang in there, hang on to the benefits, hang on to the pay, and build your quote side gig or your thing. I mean, so I'm proud of you, but I don't know you, but I'm proud of you that you really took the time and invested in yourself to become, this great person with an amazing legacy. So that's awesome.
I appreciate that very much. Like I said, it wasn't easy, but it was fueled by passion, and I wanted to make a difference. And let me, if I can, jump back to the delegation piece for a second, because
Sure.
that's really important, not just for business owners, but organizations, obviously, just in general with leadership. And here's what I would say about that. There are a lot of reasons that people don't delegate, right? Sometimes it's just knowing truly what the priorities are, and I have a mechanism for helping leaders to uncover that, right? So we go through a John Maxwell exercise that's about the law of priorities. It really helps you break down and measure, score what's most important for you to be spending your time on. Then it helps uncover what you should delegate. But aside from that kind of, let's call it a priorities and then delegation is missed for a number of reasons. One of them is leaders don't trust anyone else to do it the way they would do it. Another one is, and I'm sure there are a number, I'll just pick out a few. Another one is that it's perceived that, well, then I have to train someone else to do it. It's going to take me time. I might as well just do it myself. And then a third one might be, well, I can train someone else to do it, but you know what? They might not do it exactly like me. So what? They might actually do it better, right? So you need to let go. I mean, look, great leaders make choices all the time. All the time. If they think they're doing everything, they're absolutely kidding themselves. So great leaders make choices every day. They say no a lot, actually. they say no a lot. And they know their space. This is what I need to work on. This is what my team needs to work on. And then all the mechanisms for checking in, communicating, providing clear direction, all of that stuff. So communication, relationships are critical skill sets for leaders to have. And I know that, Sam, we talked about that previously with servant leadership and the value of relationships and, recognizing people as your greatest assets. If you're not building a relationship with them and communicating well with them, chances are they're not going to follow you. They're not going to trust you. So that's the foundation right there. And then the delegation is a whole other piece. But delegation is extremely important. And it's just some people I've noticed, even as business owners, I've noticed this. They just are not willing to let go. They're just not. And they diminish their capabilities and ability to grow because they're stuck in doing all the stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
What do you think about that, Sumit? I know that you're often talking about the importance of culture and people-centric approaches. How does that resonate with you?
Makes perfect sense, but so I'm based on what Shar and Rich were both saying. It's probably easier for a self-employed person or for folks like us who are a workforce of one to figure out that yes, this is stuff I can do, this is stuff I cannot do, or I need to bring in an external person. How would you advise somebody who's in a leadership position to just kind of let go, or what's the starting point for that delegation? It sounds very easy when we talk about this in a forum like the current one, but how do you actually get a leader to start releasing a little bit of controls, start building that bit of trust? So what would that coaching process look like?
The coaching process starts with challenging them. Okay, what is it you're spending your time on? Why do you think that you need to do it? Who else do you have in your organization, right? So you go through all those different questions just to kind of get a lay of the land, so to speak. And I'll tell you what, here's what I try to influence leaders with. Great leaders show their vulnerability. They take risks. They fail. They learn. They start again. And if you don't adopt that model yourself, no one on your team's going to do it, most likely. They're not going to say, oh, I have the freedom to take a chance. Oh, my leader is empowering me to make these decisions. And it's actually going to be okay if it's not just right. We'll figure out how to improve it. That all comes with messaging and how you carry yourself as a leader and what you communicate to your team. So for me, it was always about, hey guys, you know what? I'm going to empower you to do these things. This is the output that we're looking to, achieve. How can I help you? Let me know, but I want to give you the power to do that. And it's okay if we fail. So I've heard this phrase many times throughout my career: fail small, fail fast, right? So find, quick points to assess, regroup, correct, whatever the case may be. So what to try to answer your question, Sumit, is it's really encouraging leaders to open up and understand the risk reward profile. So what would happen if something didn't go just right? What's the impact? You gauge the impact. And then, okay, well, it could be a learning experience, or you know what, it's devastating. The project will never see the light of day. That's a different conversation. The business will fail, totally different conversation. But if it's, you know what, it's just not going to be ideal, but you know what, I got the runway to correct it and make it better, go do that. That's what I would encourage. Just go do that, because that's how we all learn, and that will empower your team to be even better at what they do, because they're going to be able to take chances and they're going to know that you support them.
So one thing I just want to dive into a little bit. First of all, Sumit, did you want to bring up another point on that before I change direction a bit? Okay. So one other thing, Rich, I mean, we're talking about the importance of being a well-balanced leader. And I know that, and when we put that in context, we're thinking about, okay, balance of family and community and health, those important pillars. And I want to dive into those a little bit more. But before we get there, on this topic of delegation and in kind of looking to the team and building that culture, we often think of, okay, well, that means I need to get feedback from my team, hear about their points and concerns and where they think the business should go overall. And sometimes you can bring in people that have very dominating voices as part of that team overall. But as a leader, sometimes you give that you're asking for advice, and but then you have to balance all those different opinions. So how important is it to ensure that is to be an overall democratic leader where you're getting all these different approaches, or and then also balancing the needs of where you're planning to drive the business and its mission. So should a leader listen to that experience? I mean, and those different perspectives, and then ensure that they're driving the mission, or should they take things where your team wants it to go overall? I guess that's a bit of a difficult question, but I'm thinking about just a
It is.
balance as far as leadership.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a crack, and I think it depends on the situation, right? So let me first say that diversity of thought is powerful, right? So I think it is important to be in a collaborative space, bring different minds, different experiences, perspectives to a situation. But I also think it's important as the leader to be clear about what your expectations are. So if it's not going to have to be a unanimous decision, you say that right up front, right? I want to get your inputs. The ultimate goal is XYZ. And then you take all that input. It's the same when you're hiring someone. When I've hired people, it was always a targeted interviewing process, and it was with debriefing with the inputs from different people or teams that had different roles in the interviewing process. At the end of the day, the manager, the hiring manager, is the decision maker. And I say that right from Jump Street. I want your inputs. Please respect that I may, you know, just basically trump this and make the decision, even if it's not the most popular choice. Same thing with driving initiatives in your organization. You want the inputs, but at the end of the day, I totally recognize that I am the leader and it falls on me, right? I am ultimately going to be accountable. How much or how little I use that input to base that future decision on is up to me. But I do want to get the team's input because I think it's important to foster inputs, let people recognize they have value in the process, but be very clear that, hey, I'm going to take your input. We may not go with your decision. That's all part of the communication and the relationship building. Now, if you have a dominant character, your team member on your team, I think that's best handled privately, right? So you can't have one person kind of completely, it depends on the environment you're creating, right? But in my mind, I've always worked in collaborative spaces where it's team-based. No one person alone is going to be the person that drives the output. It's going to be the collective, inputs of the team that drive that. So it's important to drop your ego, not believe that you're better than everyone else, and that can be handled privately and separately. But I'll jump backwards a giant step in all of this to say that, again, nothing's perfect, but I am a huge proponent of right people in the right jobs, right? And part of that are the soft skills that people bring into a role. Just very briefly, what I mean by that is, yes, of course, you have to have the competency to perform a job that you're going to be in. Understood. But you have to embrace the value system that the collective environment has. If you don't subscribe to that, you're really not a fit. So fit is extremely important to me when I'm helping leaders develop their organizations or when I've done it myself. If you're not a fit, chances are it's not going to go well for either party, right? So fit's extremely, extremely important. Hopefully that's a very, very long answer, but hopefully that addressed some of the points that you were asking me about earlier.
And just a point of clarification, and sometimes the fit may not be perfect at this moment, but the business is developing and growing, and so are people and so forth. And so, where should we take things as a leader? I mean, are we looking for perfection, or are we looking for the evolution?
Evolution for sure. It is not perfection. I think you have to even drop that term and not expect things to be perfect. It just puts a lot of pressure on a lot of people, right? It slows down progress, actually. If you're waiting for perfect, 80% might be good enough, right? We need to move on. What's the outcome we're looking to achieve? What's the next thing that we want to go after? So I think back to the diversity of thought, that's very important, right? Someone could have a slightly different point of view, different way of approaching things, and maybe we go with that particular perspective. That's fine. It's not that we all have to be in harmony and it has to be perfect and we're dotting every I and crossing every T. Honestly, I just don't think that's reality. Not in this fast-paced environment that we operate in today. We're driven to get results at a fast pace. We cannot slow down for, well, if we only did this, this, and this, be a little bit better. You have to understand what's good enough and be able to move on.
So let's take that into perspective of being the well-balanced leader. I mean, many of us as leaders, I mean, we're not perfect. Some of us have rough edges where maybe our skills are not as good as they should be in certain categories. But taking that in the context of moving the needle to improving ourselves and doing it sustainably, so a lot of us, I mean, just if we just take the exercise program, the New Year's exercise program, right? We have great intentions and lofty goals, but it turns out sometimes not to be sustainable in many cases. So what does it take for a leader to prepare for that journey and then make it sustainable and move the needle a little bit at a time to ensure that they're going towards success?
So I'm going to give an overview of the well-balanced leader concept with the 5 pieces of the pie, and I think that it will all kind of tie back to your question. Overview, and then we can dig deep if you want. The well-balanced leader is a concept that I developed last year, and it was born out of, it's not just about the work, right? We can have totally fulfilled lives. And there are 5 components, and some of them are locked into professional space. Leadership excellence is the first one. Time management mastery is the second one. Delegation, right? Decision making, all of those things. So leadership excellence, and time management mastery are kind of like half of the pie. If you just imagine and visualize a circle, and I have this on LinkedIn. I actually have a community that I've formed for it. You'll see the 5 pieces. Half of that pie is leadership excellence, time management mastery. The whole left side of the pie are more personally motivated. Self-care, we talked a little bit about that. Continuous improvement and development, which is going to get at answering your question, and then creating your legacy. Those 3 things, I think, and we got some balloons going up here, I guess, because my fingers are up, right? But, those 3 components, if you will, are really centered in, okay, as an individual, what can I do to be my best self and to be completely fulfilled? Relationships, family, self-care, hobbies, right? That's all the self-care stuff. That's the exercise in the morning. It's the journaling. It's affirmations. It's, reading to continue to learn and grow, right? That's self-care. The continuous development is the part that I think answers your question, right? So I consider myself to be a continuous learner. And I think really great leaders recognize that there's always room. Any individual contributor, even, not just leaders. We all should embrace the concept that we all have room to grow. Again, it's not about being perfect. Continuous improvement is being like, how can I show up as my best every day, right? And be a little bit better. And what can I do to reflect on that? The self-awareness, right? What could I do to reflect on, that went well, but you know what? If I did it a little bit differently, probably would have gone better. I'm going to take a note of that and do that next time. So it's that spirit. It's really a spirit of continuously improving, whether it's what you add professionally or personally, what my relationships with my kids, my wife, my family, whatever it is, right? Living into a hobby that I have. Doesn't matter what it is. It's the concept of continuous development. And then finally, creating your legacy. To me, that's what's the impact you want to have on others. Like at the end of the day, what will people say about you that you did to make a difference in their life? And I think that's that's probably one of the most important things. That's what I want as a dad, for sure. Right. So, what am I going to leave my kids with? Value systems, things that are important, things they can carry on that will have a real lasting, sustainable impact on them. So those 5 pieces make up the well-balanced leader. But I think you have to lose the idea that things have to be perfect. Just like keep moving forward, be self-aware and be committed to growth.
So one thing I just want to just highlight a little bit more because it's an interesting idea is the concept of legacy. And I think that this is a piece that really defines a leader that truly cares about the results of what's going on. Because if you think about just a lot of times when a person gets ready to, maybe they find a new career path or they want to do something different, and they say they want to end their job at a particular place and move on to another place. Those conscientious leaders that I find are super invested in ensuring that there's no balls that are dropped during their departure, making sure that the customer, the clients, the people that they care about are still benefiting from this infrastructure that they built and the culture that they built, and handing it off so it's preserved. So I think that is super admirable. And bringing this into your model, and something that I find that is unique that I haven't seen in other types of models. What do you
Yes,
think? Go ahead, Rich.
I was going to comment on that. Thank you. Sorry I interrupted you there. But first thing that I do in any role that I've ever been in, and I encourage all leaders to do this, or contributors at an individual level, your role is to go and make the job better than you found it, leave it better than you found it, right? So it could be process improvements, it could be improving culture, it could be bringing great talent, it could be all of those things, right? Leave a job better than you got it. If you do that, you've done a lot. And obviously, do things that will make it sustainable, right? Your replacement, whoever comes in behind you, understands the value of the culture, the people, what you set up, what you stood up, and then let them put their own spin on it, how they could further improve things, right? But leaving a job better than you got it, I think if you do that, man, you've nailed a lot. The other thing that I always wanted that was very important to me is having the respect of the people that I worked with. Cross-functionally as collaborative, leaders together, certainly my team members, I want them to know that I always had their back, that I was always genuinely interested in them and their development and growth, or meeting whatever the needs they had. Some people say, you know what, Rich, I'm good. I want to stay in this spot. Like, I'm not looking to be your replacement. I don't want the next promotion. I'm good. I love what I'm doing. Great. Stability players. Everybody needs them. So just understanding, it goes back to the relationships with the people that you work with. I always wanted to have people remember me as, I really loved working with that guy. Not with. I really loved working with that guy. He made a difference in my career. He was always there to help me. Whatever it might be, something that's positive, I'm leaving a great impression on them.
Yeah, that's a really powerful. And the other thing I wanted to highlight on is the aspect we were talking about of continuous improvement. I don't know how many times I've come across leaders who feel like, hey, I'm a leader. I've made it to the top. I know what needs to be known, and they don't invest in themselves as in development. And I think that when somebody there was previously that when you were assigned a coach as a leader, people think that there's something wrong with you, that you need to help moving forward. So how do we change the mindset of executives to understand that coaching and developing and these are essentials to be on top of your game for the long term?
That's a great question. I really appreciate you bringing that up. So status quo is not growth, right? So we all have the opportunity to continue growing and do things differently and better. I think embracing that concept and being open to it, and that's part of a coach's role, right? So for me, my role is to develop the relationship, know, like, and trust, where they can take input. I can be a great listener, and we can, pave a way together for them to, make changes. And they may be subtle changes, right? Typically, there are pain points in the organization. You know what? The culture's not right, or geez, I can't find the right person for that job, or I don't know if my organization's structured the right way. There could be a whole host of things. It could be that individual's ability to have an impact. right? The way they communicate, the relationships they're building, the way they delegate, right? How they set priorities. There could be so many things. So coaching is an enabler. That's kind of the answer. The short answer is coaching is an enabler. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It means that you're investing in yourself, in your team, in your organization to be better. That's what that means.
Great. Thanks, Rich. Well, as we wrap up here, would you once more remind our listeners about what it takes, those points that you mentioned, what it takes to become a well-balanced leader, and also give us some aspects on how they can learn more?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with all of you. So the well-balanced leader is about being totally fulfilled in life. It doesn't mean you should compromise being a great leader or contributor in your professional space. It means that you could have it all if you make the right choices, right? So, and those choices are up to you individually. Everyone's going to be different. The well-balanced leader has 5 components to it. It includes both professional things like leadership excellence and time management mastery, as well as a lot of personal, more personally related things, self-care, which is critically important. You're going to show up as your best self if you take care of yourself. It's an inside-out job. It's about being fully present in your life. And if you concentrate on self-care, you absolutely can achieve that. So something that many people overlook that should not be overlooked. You've got to put yourself first so you can be the best for everything else you go do. Continuous development and improvement is the next slice of the pie, if you want to call it that. We could always learn and grow. That's the point. How could I be better than I was yesterday? And then creating your legacy. That to me is like where it's at. At the end of the day, what do you want to be remembered by? Is it going to, people are going to say, wow, you 10x that business. That was great. And then you have nothing else? Or are they going to say, you know what? This person 10x their business. What an amazing leader they were. But look at that wonderful family they had. They had these great hobbies. They aspire to be like that person, right? Because of how they carried themselves in their lives. So that's the well-balanced leader. I think it's something many of us need more of. I think senior leaders are stuck in the drive and the commitment and the pressure of delivering results, and all the other components get left out. So that's what I'm trying to influence leaders with. So how can you can contact me? So you can go to my link tree, Rich Bruno Consulting. You can find all my socials. You can book an appointment with me. I would love to, as an executive coach and business consultant, help you find the solution. If anything we talked about or any other things resonated for you, we all have challenges. I want to be part of that solution. So to enable that, I would offer you a free 30-minute Zoom session. You can just book an appointment through that link tree on Calendly. And at that appointment, I'm going to help you to develop actionable steps to overcome the challenges that you have. So that's what I would offer. And I genuinely do want to help other people. So I hope that many of you will take me up on that offer. It's a free session, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, I would just genuinely like to help others.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rich. What a generous offer. And, that's one that I encourage everybody to take. I might do that myself as well.
Great.
So Rich, thank you so much for the conversation today. It's been such an impactful discussion. I know that it's meaningful to a lot of leaders out there to really find that balance in their lives and becoming the leader that they want to be. So thank you so much for joining us on the People Strategy Forum.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking with all of you.
Thank
All
you,
right, and
Rich. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Charles. Same.
All right. And to all our listeners, we'll see you next week on the People Strategy Forum. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.